She wasn't who I married. The TRTH about her death still haunts me. My name is Dan O'Weed. I'm 34, an architect by profession, and I used to think my life was perfectly normal, at least until everything shattered a month after I got married. It all started the morning after a business trip. I'd been away in Chicago for 4 days, and I was eager to get home to my wife, Claire. We'd only been married for 3 weeks, and everything still felt new, exciting, and too good, maybe. I walked into our apartment with a bouquet of white lilies, her favourite, and immediately noticed something was off. The door wasn't locked. Claire was incredibly cautious. She checked locks twice before bed, sometimes 3 times. I told myself maybe she just forgot that she was in a rush. I stepped inside, calling her name. Silence. At first, I thought she might be asleep or out running errands, but the further I walked in, the more I realized things weren't right. Her phone was on the kitchen counter, next to her wallet. Her keys were still in the bowl near the door. The coffee machine was on, but the mug underneath was empty. It was as if she vanished mid-routine. I checked every room, every closet. I opened the bathroom door and braced myself, but it was empty. My heart was pounding. I started calling friends, her parents, co-workers. No one had heard from her since the night before. No text. No emails. No social media activity. I called the police. They were polite but indifferent at first, brushing it off as a possible emotional reaction. She's an adult, they said. Maybe she needed space. But I knew Claire. She wouldn't just leave, especially not without her phone. That night, I sat in our living room, staring at the untouched mug under the coffee machine. The apartment was too quiet. I hadn't cried yet. I just felt numb. The next morning, I got a call. It was Claire's boss. He told me something strange. She'd requested 3 days off work before I even left for my trip. She hadn't said why. That wasn't like her. She hated unplanned time off. I checked our bank account and found something else. A withdrawal of $5,000 in cash the day before I left. Claire never carried cash, let alone that much. There was no explanation. I started to wonder, had she been planning something? Or running from something? By the end of the day, I was back at the police station. I demanded they take this seriously. They finally agreed to file a missing person report. But that night, I made a mistake. I went through Claire's laptop, and I found an email. One she never meant me to see. It was from someone named E. The subject line read, "It's time." And the message? Just 3 chilling words. He can't know. I stared at that email for what felt like hours. He can't know. The words looped in my head like some twisted mantra. Who was it? What couldn't I know? And more importantly, what the hell was Claire hiding from me? I clicked to see the full message thread. The sender's email address was some throwaway Gmail account, just a random mix of letters and numbers. The earlier messages were all short, vague references to final steps, preparation, and one that simply said you know what you have to do. It felt like I was reading messages between 2 people planning something. Something big. Something dark. That night I didn't sleep. I couldn't. I sat in the glow of the laptop, scrolling through Claire's inbox, her folders, anything I could find. Most of it was normal bills, subscriptions, Pinterest boards full of wedding dresses and pasta recipes. But then, buried in a subfolder named Work, I found an encrypted PDF. It needed a password. I tried everything I could think of: our anniversary, her birth date, even our cat's name. Nothing worked. Around 4 a.m., I drove to her parents' house. They lived 2 hours away, and I didn't even bother to call. When her mother opened the door and saw me, pale and shaking, she didn't say a word. She just stepped aside. Claire's dad was in the living room. I told them everything. The unlocked door, the missing money, the strange email. At first, they looked as confused as I felt. But when I mentioned the name E, her mom froze. "I haven't heard that name in a long time," she whispered. "What do you mean?" I asked. She hesitated. Then her eyes welled up, and she glanced toward her husband. "Claire had an incident when she was 19, before she met you. She never talked about it. We weren't supposed to bring it up. There was a man. We only knew him as Elijah. He was unstable." Unstable. That word didn't even begin to cover the way her voice trembled when she said it. She got away from him, changed her number, moved cities. We thought it was over. She promised us it was over. I felt like the ground was slipping under my feet. So Claire had a past I didn't know about. A dangerous one. And now this Elijah Eid had somehow found her again. Her parents didn't have any more answers. Just fear in their eyes. When I got home that morning, there was an envelope under our front door. No return address. Just my name in block letters. Inside was a single Polaroid photo. It was Claire. She was sitting in what looked like a motel room, tied to a chair. Her eyes were open, awake, and there was a date written across the bottom. August 9th, 3 days from now, and a message scrawled in red ink. "You still don't know who she really is." I dropped the photo. My hands were shaking so badly I thought I might vomit. The image burned into my eyes. Claire, bound, terrified, and somehow alive. I hadn't even let myself hope that. But now it wasn't relief I felt. It was pure dread. She wasn't just missing. She was being held. And someone was playing with me. I called the police again. This time with the photo. They took it more seriously, started asking questions, started talking about investigation protocols. But I could tell they didn't believe I was innocent. Not entirely. One of the detectives, a woman named Gray, kept circling back to me. Why didn't she tell you about Elijah? Or why did she take out the money? Or why did you go through her laptop? They treated me like a suspect. So I decided to stop waiting for help. I'd find her myself. The first clue was a photo of the motel room. I scanned every pixel. Cheap cop, peeling wallpaper, the kind of painting of flowers you only see in roadside dumps. I posted it anonymously in an online forum for private investigators. Within an hour, someone replied, "That's the Kings Pine Motel, Route 18, Ohio." It was 5 hours away. I packed a bag, grabbed my father's old revolver from the safe, a gun I swore I'd never touch, and drove through the night. I got there by morning. The place was exactly what I expected, run down, forgotten, and reeky of cigarettes and mildew. I walked in, pretending to be casual. A man behind the desk looked up from his phone. "I'm looking for my wife," I said. "Claire Reed, I think she might have stayed here." He shrugged. "We don't take names, just cash." Typical. I slipped him $100. His eyes lit up. He flipped through a worn-out ledger. "Room 6 checked in 4 nights ago, paid for a week. No ID, don't think I've seen the guy leave once, real quiet." My blood went cold. Room 6. I didn't wait. I ran outside, found the door, and pressed my ear against it. Silence. I knocked. Nothing. Then I heard it, the slightest shuffle, like someone moving inside. "Claire," I whispered. Then a voice. But not hers. A man. Calm, almost bored. "She can't come to the door right now." I pulled out the gun. My hands were slick with sweat. "Open it, now." He laughed. Daniel, so predictable. "You really think you're ready for what's on the other side?" My heart stopped. "How do you know my name?" "I know everything about you, just like I knew everything about her." Then silence. I backed up and kicked the door. It didn't budge. I fired once into the lock. The sound was deafening. The door swung open, but the room was empty. No Claire. No man. Just a single cassette recorder sitting on the bed. And a note. "You're chasing a ghost. Stop now, or next time it won't be a photo." I stood there in that motel room, shaking, trying to understand what I was looking at. There was no sign anyone had been tied up in no ropes, no hair, no fingerprints that I could see. Just that damn tape recorder and the note. I stared at the note again. "You're chasing a ghost. Stop now, or next time it won't be a photo." It wasn't a threat, it was a promise. I pressed play on the recorder. At first, only static. Then a voice crackled through. Claire's voice. "Danny, if you're hearing this, it means I messed up. I thought I had more time. I thought I could protect you from all of this, but it's too late." I gripped the bedpost to keep myself from collapsing. "You probably found the email. You know about it, but you don't know everything. You never did. And it's not because I didn't trust you. I was trying to keep you safe. That man Elijah, he's not who you think he is, and not who you think I am." There was a long pause. Then her voice came back, softer now. "I lied to you. About everything. My name isn't really Claire. I was part of something before I met you, something dangerous. I left it behind, or at least I thought I had, but Elijah never left me. I worked with him. We did things I'll never be able to tell you, things that taunt me every time I close my eyes." A faint sob. Then more words. "I tried to disappear, change my name, my past, everything. Then I met you, and for a little while, I believed I could actually have a normal life, but Elijah found me. He always finds me." Click. The tape ended. I stared ahead, completely hollowed out. Who the hell had I married? A woman with a false name. A dark past. Ties to someone capable of this. I checked the motel room from corner to corner. Then I noticed something taped under the nightstand, a small flash drive. I grabbed it and ran back to my car, locking myself in like it could protect me from the storm I was suddenly inside. Back in town, I plugged it into my laptop. One folder. Title followed. Inside were dozens of files. Scans of passports, all with Claire's face, but different names. Security footage clipped from different locations. Surveillance notes. Photographs of people I didn't recognize except one. May. A high-res photo of me sitting on a park bench from months ago. Taken from a distance. Marked with the date I proposed to her. My stomach flipped. There was a document labelled Target Notes D. Read. I opened it. The first line stopped my hot cold. Confirmed emotional attachment. Recommend operational delay. He's starting to suspect nothing. Nothing. The last paragraph read. Once Elijah makes contact, initiate withdrawal plan. If compromised, eliminate. Eliminate. I dropped the laptop like it was burning my hands. Suddenly it all clicked. This wasn't just about a stalker. This wasn't some jealous ex. This was an operation. And I wasn't just a husband. I was a mark. I couldn't breathe. Everything I thought I knew in my marriage, my love for Claire, our entire relationship had become a sick lie. She didn't just hide her past from me. I was part of the job. A target. A mission. Some kind of experiment. And yet, I couldn't make myself believe she didn't care. That tape, the way she said my name, it didn't sound like someone faking it. It sounded like someone desperate. Broken. But maybe that's exactly what she wanted me to think. I couldn't stay in the apartment anymore. I packed a duffel, grabbed the flash drive, and checked into a motel under a fake name. I didn't know who was watching me, Elijah, the police, some third party I hadn't even discovered yet. All I knew was I had to keep moving. I spent the next 2 days analysing everything on the flash drive. It was clear that Claire, or whatever her real name was, had been part of something organised, possibly government, but more likely something off the grid. The kind of thing people disappear over. Some of the documents referenced places I'd never heard of: Facility Echo, Azon Grey, the Client Delta. One folder was labelled cleaners, and inside were chilling entries about erasure protocols of fake overdoses, car crashes, silent toxins. They didn't just disappear people. They erased them completely. And then I found the video. It was dated 6 months before we met. Claire, a blonde then, with a different face, was sitting at a table in what looked like an interrogation room. Across from her was a man whose face had been blurred out. She said one sentence that shattered everything. "I'll do it. I'm in bed with Daniel Reed. Just give me a new life when it's over." I slammed my fist into the wall. So it was real. All of it. I was her assignment. But then why run? Why vanish? Why the photo? I was losing my mind, but I had one last shot. In one of the surveillance images, I noticed a landmark through a window, a broken neon sign that said Orchid Club. I searched every bar with that name. Only one matched the location and sign. It was in Maryland. 3 hours away. I drove straight through. The club was closed, abandoned. Windows boarded up, roof caved in. But there were fresh tire tracks in the dirt behind it. And one of the rear doors had a new lock. Someone had been here. I pried the lock open with a crowbar. The inside was dusty, dead. But in the far room, a generator was humming quietly. I followed the sound and found a metal door slightly ajar. Inside was a crude Cephas cot, maps, burner phones, canned food. And on the wall, photos. Of me. My family. My apartment. All with notes in red marker. Then I heard it. A soft click. I turned. And Claire was standing in the doorway. Same face. Same voice. But the look in her eyes was nothing like the woman I married. "Daniel," she said. "You weren't supposed to find this." For a full minute, neither of us moved. Claire stood there like a ghost conjured from the past, but nothing about her presence felt comforting. Her eyes were sunken, her skin pale. She looked exhausted and dangerous. Not like someone who needed saving. Like someone who'd been on the run for years and was done pretending. I held up my hand slowly. "Just tell me what's going on, no more lies." She stepped in, closed the door behind her, and leaned against it. "You weren't supposed to find me, Daniel. That's why I left you clues, just enough to make you back off." Back off? I almost laughed. "You're in surveillance photos. Your voice is on a tape talking about eliminating me. What the hell was I to you? A science project? A loose end?" Her jaw clenched. She didn't deny it. That hurt more than anything. "Elijah made the rules," she said quietly. "He chooses the assignments. He decides when they're over. I was supposed to get close, extract intel from your firm's architecture database. You were never the focus, just the doorway." "The doorway?" "You design government sites, defense contracts. You just don't know it. Half your blueprints were for classified structures used in black ops programs. Elijah wanted access. I gave it to him." My whole body went cold. I thought my beta secret was still liking boy bands from the 2000s. I had no idea I'd been drawing maps for monsters. I was going to walk away, she said, tears in her eyes now. I told him I was out, but Elijah doesn't let anyone out. I shook my head. So the photo, the tape, the motel, what did just another part of the act? "No," she whispered. "That was real. He found me before I could run. He was going to kill me. I convinced him it would be better if you thought I was dead or dangerous, that I was trying to save you." I stepped forward, furious. "By drugging me with a lie? By using our marriage like a disguise?" Claire looked down. "I didn't plan to fall in love with you. That was my first mistake." Just then, we heard it. A click. Not from the door this time, from a small device blinking red under the cot. My blood ran to ice. "Elijah," Claire said, eyes wide. "He found us." There was no time to run. A voice crackled from a hidden speaker in the wall. Calm, clinical. The same voice from the motel. "You two had a good run, but this ends now." The lights cut out. Total darkness. I lunged toward Claire, grabbed her hand. "Where's the exit?" She yanked a lever behind a rack of coats. A panel opened, revealing an air tunnel. We sprinted inside. Behind us, a flash. Then fire. Then everything exploded. I woke up choking on smoke and dirt, buried under what felt like half a building. My ears were ringing, my ribs ached like they'd been cracked open, and for a second I wasn't sure if I was dead or dreaming. Then I heard her. There, coughing somewhere nearby. I clawed through rubble, dragging my broken body toward the sound. A concrete beam had landed across her legs, pinning her down. Her face was covered in ash, her lip bleeding, but she was alive. We locked eyes. You came back, she whispered. I never left. With every ounce of strength I had left, I lifted the beam just enough for her to crawl out. She screamed through gritted teeth, but she made it. We limped through the collapsed tunnel, pushing forward in darkness until we found a rusty hatch overhead. Claire punched the code into a key but I hadn't even noticed on the wall, and the door clicked open. We emerged in the middle of a field, lit by a pale sunrise. Smoke billowed in the distance where the Orchid Club used to be. She collapsed beside me. I have a safe house an hour from here, she said, barely audible. Off-grid. He won't find us there. I nodded, though I wasn't sure I believed that anymore. He always finds her. We made it. Somehow. 1 hour later, we reached a cabin buried deep in the woods. She had gear stashed there: first aid, burner phones, fake ID, cash, maps, weapons, and a hard drive. This is everything, she said. Every op, every client, even Elijah's real name. If we leak it, he'll kill us faster. She nodded grimly. But it could destroy him. We didn't speak for a long time. I just sat there, watching the sun rise behind the trees, trying to piece together what was left of my reality. I loved her. And I hated that I still did. You used me, I finally said. You infiltrated my life, lied to me, made me fall in love with a ghost. Claire looked up at me with bloodshot eyes. I used to be a ghost. You made me feel like a person again. That was never the lie. I didn't know what to believe anymore. The next day, we drove to her secured Dropbox location in DC, a contact of hers, someone she trusted, someone who hated Elijah even more than she did. We gave them the drive. They promised to take it public. 2 days later, the news broke. Whistleblower leak. Ex-government contractor turned mercenary. Ties to assassinations, surveillance programs, blackmail networks. They didn't name Claire. They didn't name me. But they named Elijah. And then everything got quiet. Too quiet. We spent weeks on the move with different motels, different names. I stopped calling friends. I stopped being Daniel Reed. And then, one night, we found a note taped to the windshield of our car. White paper. Red ink. Same handwriting. You can run, you can hide, but love always leaves fingerprints. We haven't stopped running since. And sometimes, when she's asleep beside me and I let myself believe we've escaped, I wonder if I fell in love with a woman trying to be human, or if she was just a better liar than him.